Yankee CEO, COO, Lon Trost.
It's part of the alphabet.
I'm learning. But listen, today is July the 4th. What does that mean to you as far as George Steinbrenner is concerned?
Well, first we think of the country, and then we think of the flag, and then we think of George, because they all rolled into one. July 4th, George Steinbrenner, who's, besides his love for his family and the Yankees, was the love for the country. So that's what I always think about. When you look at the flag and listen to the Star Spangled Banner, you think of the country, you think of the flag, you think of how great this country is and how great George has been to everybody and this team that we gave to not only the Yankees, but to the country and to the world.
Thank you, Lon Trost.
Stay well.
In our next segment of Reach Out with Ray and Steve, we have Yankees legend and the wonderful NBC baseball announcer, Tony Kubek.
Because I am a Martin, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, and I have.
On the birthday of George Steinbrenner, Billy Martin Jr. will tell us a little about the incredible relationship between the boss and his father, Billy Martin. For years, the great Mel Torme wowed audiences with his great voice, and now Steve Torme is doing the same thing. Craig Pilo on the drums was a cross between Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, and Ringo Starr, and he did it beautifully for Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. All this and more, sponsored by H21 Health and Wellness. That's Reach Out with Ray and Steve, along with musical director Robbie Robinson. Live streamed Monday at 7 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook, and 8:30 on BronxNet, channel 115. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
George?
Elaine, what are you doing here?
Okay, I wanted to talk to you about something, and I wanted to tell you in person.
What?
I'm not going to the wedding.
Why not?
Because Jerry is bringing a date. I am not an usher. I don't have anyone to talk to, and I'm not sitting at that singles table all by myself.
Wait a minute, young lady. What's this about singles tables? I don't sit at singles tables. Singles tables are for losers. The Yankees have won 33 pennants and 22 World Championships. We're winners. We don't sit with losers.
Well,
And I've got an idea. You're going to go to the party with me.
oh, well, gee.
You dance, don't you? Lose a little weight, get yourself in shape, and then when they throw the bridal bouquet, you'll maybe get it.
I don't know, mister.
Well, I know. You're the cause of all this, Costanza. It's your wedding, so either she goes with me or you're out of here. Yesterday's newspaper.
Of course she's gonna go with you, Mr. Steinbrenner.
Well, that's fine. I don't like to put undue pressure on people.
Why is this the play of the game?
This is the play of the game because I have had so many hot dogs and lobster rolls today and sushi and shaken so many hands and went to the bathroom a couple of times and taken so many pictures a couple of times more than that. So this, ladies and gentlemen, the play of the game.
Reach out, oh, with Ray and Steve. Reach out, with Ray and Steve. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the car. For the home team, if they're not winning, it's a shame. Play ball.
Hello, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. Welcome to Reach Out with Ray and Steve, the show where East meets West, the Yankees meet the Dodgers, baseball meets music, and we all come together for a community. All right, everybody, get ready. Here come Ray and Steve. Come on in, gentlemen.
Robbie,
Hi, Robert.
well
Good to see
said,
you.
sir.
Hey.
Always good to see that beautiful, well, actually, that ugly shirt of yours, but it's, cute face. It's okay.
Hey, I see. I don't see a hat on you. Is there something wrong with your team this week?
Oh, are you breaking on us already? It's just because you're
It's okay.
50 wins, but Robbie, remember this,
no.
Robbie. Hold on.
No. In the immortal words of Thurman Munson, no comment.
No comment.
Amen. I hear.
But-
Well,
but-
you know what? In the immortal words of one of our guests today's illustrious partners in crime, Joe Garagiola, who said baseball is a funny game, and you can't win it on the papers. You have to go out there and do it. And I know it's tough right now, but I'm still hoping. I'm still wishing, hoping, and praying for a Dodger-Yankee World Series this year.
That's right. And we have the standings up here. Your Dodger boys are doing pretty well there. Metsies took it to the Yanks over the weekend, and we're falling behind there. But we're holding tight. It's still
Hey, you're still in the race.
Still in the race, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But this is going to be a great show. And you're right. Music meets baseball. East meets West with Tony Kubek, Craig Pilo, Billy Martin Jr. This is a great show.
And I have to admit an error. For anybody who tuned in to watch Steve March Torme tonight, I got confused with this Dodger time and Yankee time, and and Steve is in Wisconsin, and so somehow I miscommunicated the time, and so his schedule wouldn't allow him to come on. So Steve March Torme is going to be with us next Monday, not tonight.
Oh, okay.
That'll work.
All right. Well, we'll be on next Monday. We've got something to look forward to. I hope you had a happy Independence Day, Rob. Independence Day.
Yeah, happy birthday, America. We are so blessed to live in this land of the free because of the brave, no doubt about it. I'm so thankful to live in this great country.
That's right. And July 4th is a big time in Yankee history. Obviously,
Yes.
George Steinbrenner, the boss's birthday on July 4th, 1930. Lou Gehrig's speech took place in 1939.
Yes.
Mickey Mantle hit his 300th home run in 1960. Dave Righetti pitched a no-hitter in 1983 against the Red Sox. We'll have to remind Craig about that one. And then Phil Negro threw 3,000th strikeout in 1984. Awesome
Wow.
things. Awesome things.
Yes.
Well,
Amen.
and with that being said, when Righetti pitched his no-hitter, this guy's daddy was managing the Yankees, and I think we should go right into Billy and go over the whole aspect of George Steinbrenner.
Okay, well, let's show this little press conference that George and Billy had, and then we'll bring on Billy Martin Jr.
I have every reason to believe that we will have a great relationship and that we're going to go back to a winning basic formula and bring back a championship to New York. And you've got to go with a winner in order to get a winner. And as you look at the records of the various managers, there are only 2 or 3 managers in baseball today active who have winning records from the time they started managing. And Alfred Martin is one of those fellas.
Had a lot of long talks with George. A lot of guys are going to wonder how we're going to get along. Like, I'm sure you're going to ask me that question later on. Well, we've straightened a lot of things out. For instance, I'll be handling all the trades.
What do you mean?
There'll be no phone calls in the dugout.
What do you mean? That's not right. I'm handling the trades.
That isn't the way we say
I have the right to call you in the dugout.
That's not the way it's going to be, George.
You're damn right it is, and if you don't like it, you're fired.
You haven't hired me yet.
Iconic scene
classic.
there. That is classic. And Billy
I love
Martin Jr., welcome to
Yes.
the show.
Here he is.
Hey guys, happy birthday, America.
Yes, happy birthday, America. And you look nice with the tie. You're outdressing everybody here.
Well, come on. I live in Texas. You know how many fireworks have been going off? Still going off. It's daytime right now.
Well, that jacket looks like fireworks, Billy. It's okay. I don't know if your dad would approve of that jacket, but maybe he would. I don't know.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was his, but
Okay. Oh, there we go. There we go. So how you doing in your neck of the woods during the pandemic? You okay? Your family okay?
Oh, absolutely. Things have been opened up here for a while, and it seems to be going pretty well. I was actually at an event with my son Gunnar Mantle Martin yesterday, and it was packed. There were more people than were supposed to be there, and I got to admit, it felt weird just being out there with a zillion people walking around, swimming in the river, listening to music and fireworks. It was great.
Wow. Fantastic.
Well, listen, Billy Martin Jr. is like my little brother, and so in essence, I don't want to hear about this pandemic stuff. I'm tired of all that stuff. Let's get
gotta
down.
make sure he's okay.
Let's get down and dirty. Billy, yesterday was George's birthday. Do you think about your dad? Do you think about George? And how was the relationship from what you gather? Let's go. Hit the people.
Come on. if there were a truer love-hate relationship on the planet, it was those two men. I mean, they both had big egos, right? But as mad as they would get at each other at times, their love and respect for each other was amazing. I mean, my father felt that loyalty was one of the key ingredients to success. And who was more loyal than George? As hard as he was to work for, as demanding as he was, he always had your back. If you got arrested, he might pick you up, get you out of jail. He might drive you home. He might scream and yell at you the whole way home. But guess what? You'll still have a job the next day. He'll still take care of you and your family.
Okay, now, Billy.
Yeah.
Okay. There were many times where I've been sitting in the office with your father. This was going into the 80s, so you had become a mature young man at that point. I know your dad used to call you all the time. And when he called you and he was like, in essence, saying words that we shouldn't say in front of Robbie Robinson, how did you handle it? Did you hate George? Did you say, "Oh, come on, give us"? Those are the things we want to hear. So tell us.
You mean when he fired him?
Yes.
Well, of course. I'll give you an example. 1978 World Series. I'm sitting with Dad watching the World Series with him because you remember he was fired after 100 games.
Right.
And we're watching the game, and about halfway through he realizes, or he asked me, "Who the hell are you cheering for?" I go, "Well, Dad, I'm not cheering for the team that fired you." And he said, "Hey, that's a bunch of crap, son. Those are my guys. We're cheering for them." And why he didn't understand is because I couldn't cheer against them, but I wanted the hitters to hit line drives right at people. I wanted swinging bunts to turn into hits for the other team because I wanted the Yankees to lose because they fired my dad. And he was always a Yankee, and he was always cheering for the Yankees. And he said, "Look, I'll be back. I'm a Yankee for life." And
Now,
people don't
Billy,
know that either. George gave him a lifetime contract.
Now, Billy, I know that in 1989, George had called your dad to get the troops ready because he was bringing them back. And as a matter of fact, your dad had even gotten you more involved. He wanted you to be a part of his whole chemistry with the players and with the team at that point because you were already in your 20s and stuff like that. I mean, give us a little bit about what was happening. What was the preparation like for Billy for Billy Six?
Okay, so he was mulling over 3 opportunities. But what he would have done. It probably would have been against my advice. I don't mean to anger Yankee fans because I do wear this ring every day. But he had 3 options. Go to Japan and become the first millionaire manager. Go to Colorado and be the first manager of the Colorado Rockies, which he would have been hired before they even opened. So he would have gone a year or two without even losing a game. Think what a good mood he would have been in. And that was where his managerial start was, the 1968 Denver Bears, which was Twins AAA affiliate.
Right.
And on that team was his future pitching coach, who was the pitching coach / closer, Art Fowler. A pretty good third baseman, played for the Yankees, guy named Greg Nettles.
Yeah.
He was on that team. Charlie Manuel was also on.
Oh yeah.
Major League Manager. But anyways, that and George was courting him to come back for managerial stint number 6.
Wow.
Okay, and so your dad had called up the troops. He was getting everybody ready. I mean, were you going to go work with your dad on the staff from the standpoint of what he wanted? I know he wanted you there. Had you decided that you were going to be there, that you was going with him?
I was going to do whatever Dad wanted, of course. He was tougher than I was. But no, he wanted me there because he trusted my instinct and knew how loyal I was to him. But at the end of the day, he was going to be a Yankee. I know I was going to push for Colorado because.
Well, that wasn't going to happen. So let's not even talk about Colorado. I don't want to talk about no Colorado and all this stuff. I'm not, it's my show. I'm not interested. Okay. What I'm interested in is the aspect of Billy Martin and Billy Martin Jr. together. I thought that was going to be very interesting. And I remember George Steinbrenner at the time saying, what the hell does he want his son there for? And I said to him, at that point, I said, Mr. Steinbrenner, I think that he'll help control Billy. You can't do it.
Oh, well, Mr. Steinbrenner offered me a job for life. I did an internship, if you don't remember, in 19.
I remember.
I know you do. And he called me in his office at the end and said I did such a good job that I had a job with the Yankees for life. So
wow.
I never took him up on that. It's kind of dumb.
Last question, Billy. And again, this one's hard for me because, as you know, Billy Martin Jr. has always been like my little brother. I babysat him just like I babysat Hal and all the boys. And his father took care of him. His father was truly like a father to me. And the 20 Christmas Eve. Tell us a little bit about Christmas Eve of '89.
So I was at my mother's boyfriend's house. You know, she and Dad were done, and this was pre-cell phone days. We weren't watching TV, so I didn't find out for hours. My voicemail was full on my phone at home. There were people actually at my house, parked outside, trying to run me down. But it wasn't until one of my mother's friends who kind of put the pieces together and realized we're probably at Wiltie's house, my mom's boyfriend, celebrating Christmas that I was flying out the next day to see Dad. And, I didn't find out until for a long time. And obviously, what do you say? It was devastating.
Yeah. And Billy, let's put baseball aside for a minute. As a father, what do you remember about your father?
You know what I tell people that just blows them away? I don't think he ever raised his voice at me.
Wow.
And people assume that he yelled at me like he did umpires, right? And he didn't. he couldn't always be there. You know, he literally only got to see one high school baseball game that I played in. And he was late to his own game with the Texas Rangers that day so he could see me. And I had my best game ever that day, by the way. But obviously living off his confidence. But he made me feel so loved that even though he was gone a lot, it didn't matter. I knew he loved me and wanted me with him.
Billy, you know, your father, his legacy and his legend will continue on in baseball lore and baseball history to everybody who loves the game, and especially, of course, in the hearts and minds of all Yankee fans. So what a great life that he led, and what a great legacy, and what a great history, and what a great father to be the son of. You're blessed, brother.
Yes, I am. I wish my kids could have spent, you know, that much time with him, because you can ask Ray. He was so good with kids, and
he loved the kids, and Robbie. Let me just say that on several drives to the ballpark, Billy had stopped at a couple of hospitals and stuff like that to deliver some things, and things that I mean that people wouldn't even think, and if I said it, they would say I'm lying. So that's fine, because I know what he did. I know how much he loved this kid over here. And
well, Billy, we're gonna have to get you back on, because there's so many stories on his playing days. We got to hear those stories back in the day. But thank you so very much for joining us here on Reach Out with Ray and Steve and Robbie.
Guys, I appreciate it very much. Y'all are great. Love the show, and happy birthday, America.
Amen.
Happy birthday, America.
All
God
right.
bless. Billy Martin Jr., what a great guy. I mean, it's such, you can see the connection that you guys have. And moving right along, our next guest he's had a Hall of Fame broadcasting career. He's been with the Yankees. He's been an amazing man. Before we bring him on, let's go back in time where he interviewed the late, great Hall of Famer Tom Seaver. Let's check it out.
On the field, today's winning pitcher and a heck of a ball game, Tom Seaver. This must be the most exciting moment in your life.
It is. It has to be, Tony. It's the greatest. I've wanted this for I don't know how long. I guess maybe 9 years old, but this is the most beautiful ball club I've ever seen. They're just fabulous. It's a pleasure to play with them. It really is.
Tom, I talked to your wife before the ball game, and she was so darn nervous, and she said, I know Tom is, and I'm right out there with him. She's a great gal.
I think she gets more nervous than I do. She's a great bit of encouragement for me.
You pitched a good ball game. It looked like you got stronger about the sixth inning.
I did. I got a kind of a second win and made a couple bad pitches in the ninth inning, gave up a run, but this club just never stops fighting.
You think we're going back to Baltimore?
I don't want to, Tony. I hope not.
Tom Seaver, thank you so much. Congratulations on your first series victory. Hope there'll be many more.
There's some more, too. Thanks.
Tony Kubak, welcome to Reach Out with Ray and Steve and Robbie. Thank you for your brilliant career.
I wish I could have talked directly to Billy Jr. I could tell him some real stories about his dad if he doesn't know it.
I bet you have some stories.
Well, you know, I'll take you back to June 15th, 1957. It was my first year with the Yankees. And the trading deadline was, I think it was midnight on that day. We were in Kansas City, in the old ballpark, of course. And I was in the bullpen. I wasn't playing that day, warming up pitchers, whatever we were to do when we weren't playing those days. It's different now. And all of a sudden we see Casey leave the dugout in third base, walk down the left field line, going up a steep hill, went into the clubhouse where we dressed. It wasn't more than 5-10 minutes later, Billy walks to the same direction. Little did we know, when we all ended that ball game and went back to the clubhouse, Billy's locker was empty. So I think Casey went up there, was talking to George Weiss, the general manager, and they consummated some kind of deal, and Billy was gone. And that was kind of a sad moment for a lot of the players. When I think especially of Mickey and Whitey, they were so close with Billy. I mean, that was really a multicultural trio, believe me. You know, Mickey from Oklahoma and Whitey, everybody named him Slick, and here's Billy, who was a real street kid also growing up in California. But that was a sad moment. I also, the same year, was invited to a party at the Copacabana. I was single. I was staying 161st Street, right up the street to the Grand Concourse where the young players would stay. And I was invited to the party in the Copa. And Billy's the one that said, hey, you got to come. Well, I had never been on a subway. One of my first major league games. It was Johnny Cux's birthday. Hank was there, McDougal was there, Wise was there. I didn't know how to get downtown. Well, fortunately, I didn't get there, but unfortunately, some thugs that had a couple drinks, they challenged the wrong people, Billy and Hank and some of the others. And they put that to an end in the men's room. In fact, later on, years later, I saw the guy who was the maitre d' at the Copacabana. He was working in Chicago when I was still traveling. He said, Tony, I can tell you the whole story. So he told me what happened. And he said, the guys, we got those guys, Hank and Gil McDougal and Billy and Mickey, out the back door in a hurry, he said. And the other guys, we wanted to beat them up aside from that. But so they were thugs and they had what they gave them coming. But Billy was great. He's one of the only people I know, and I've seen a lot of managers and stuff, who the opposition managers, they didn't manage against the opposition team. They managed against Billy. I remember this, way back, some of you guys might have been, but they had the split season. I was so goofed up from lockout and everything else. And
81,
Billy,
right?
Yeah, and Billy managed Oakland and so forth. But I used to love to sit in spring training with the scouts. And when I sat and watched some of the games, and the scouts would talk among themselves, and I had big ears so I could listen, and they didn't mind. And they were all talking about, we just came from Arizona. You ought to see what Billy's doing. Billy's hit and run. Billy's stealing home. Billy's doing a delayed steal. Billy's doing double steals. Billy's doing this. And I say, whoa. They're already thinking about managing Billy the first time their team beats Billy's team. And that's what they took to the managers from the opposing teams. And if you ever did a game and saw it, you saw even the really good managers opposed on the other side of the field from Billy. They were managing about what is he going to do next instead of paying attention to their own team. But
did we get looks like Tony is frozen there for a minute. I hope we can get him back here.
Season, and they ended up.
There you are, Tony. We lost you for a second.
Well, it's probably good if you lost my face, but that's yeah, I love Billy, and I got to see him a lot more afterwards when he managed other teams and I broadcast. One of the real thrills, and might have been the greatest pregame spot ever that never got on the air. Billy's managing the Minnesota Twins. So one of our producers and the president of the network, or president of the sports bar, Chet Simmons, said, this is ideal. So they hired Mickey. One of the first shows he did was we went to Billy's house. They had a big mobile unit parked outside the morning of the game. Billy had just flown in he was there, but Mickey flew in from somewhere else. The producer flew from New York with Mickey. And now the show started. And if you ever saw the outtakes, you'd say, we got to produce this. They did one spot in there where Billy had a 40, which you probably heard the story, 45 hanging on the wall in a case. He said, and this is the time when Mickey was invited to Texas, and we went out on a hunting escapade, and there was a cow out in the field, and Billy told Mickey, he said, you know, that cow, the owner doesn't like that cow. He said, yeah. So Mickey shot it. But anyway, he had this pistol, he said, and that was one of the times in Texas, he said, where we had this revolver, 45 revolver, and let's play Russian roulette. And he took the thing off the wall in his den in Minnesota in the basement, and he said, and here's how we did it. And Mickey said, it's still loaded. I think it was. So anyway, I mean, these guys were great. The stories about them and what they did and how great they played. You know, I think one of the myths also is that Billy got traded because of the Copacabana incident. Billy got traded for one reason. Not that he wasn't a good ball player, but the Yankees controlled so many players. This is before free agency and stuff. I played in Denver in '56 the year before with, Bobby Richardson was there, Woody Hell, he ended up with 30-some home runs. The day before spring training in '57, after they released Phil in '56, Casey in '57 said, well, who's going to be your shortstop opening day in '57? So Casey said, Big Pete Shee. I know a guy who knows Big Pete very well, don't you, Ray? What a gentleman. I know you know Pete. Wow. Shee. Well, Pete said, he said to Pete, St. Petersburg, go in there and get those 11 guys in the back room that are going to be one of the shortstops. So Pete went in there, and he got the writers and the photographers, And here are 11 guys lined up on the field. And I think Billy might have been included in that picture along with a lot of other guys. I could name a bunch of them. And he said, one of these guys is going to be my starting shortstop in 57. Well, I wasn't, but I think Gil McDougall still did. But Billy just got so much from Casey, and he used it. He could be a gambler, but he was a gambler where the odds were always on his favor whenever he made a move, whether it's a pinch hitting move. And one of my dear friends was Clete Boyer, of course, and Billy took Clete everywhere with him as a coach, as a manager, and so forth. And he would tell me stories about Billy and how gracious he was with everybody. I mean, if you went into a clubhouse and a player not making much money would give the clubhouse guy $25, it was $100 or $200 from Billy. Here, buddy, he was just that kind of guy. He was fiery. I mean, no doubt about it. That was part of his a quality that made him a good manager. I mean,
well, Tony, if you have, I mean, what an amazing career on both sides of the microphone, from on the field and behind the microphone. But you played on arguably the greatest cast of Yankees ever. I mean, the Bronx Bombers were great, but those late 50s, and, well, of course, you followed Billy on the Yankees infield. Late 50s, early 60s, when you guys were rocking with Maris and Mantle and Yogi and Elston and Moose Skowron and Clete Boyer. You guys were, it was rare for you not to play in the World Series, wasn't it?
And he was Rookie of the Year in 57. You played in 37 World Series games, started in 9 years, 6 World Series. That's a great run.
Well, I hung on the coattails of some pretty good players, not just Whitey. And then when Ralph Falk went and scouted Louis Arroyo in the minor leagues with that screwball, he came in and he saved so many games in 61. Whitey breaks Ruth's record in the 61 World Series against Cincinnati. And that's Roger and Mickey. I mean, they were going great guns,
Oh,
and
man.
Bobby and I were leading off. I wish there had been guys like some guys who got more base on balls than what Roger and Mickey would have done after that. And even Yogi. I mean, Yogi in 61, he played some left field. Ellie finally got a chance to catch regular. Ellie Howard, who in my mind should be in the Hall of Fame. He's an MVP, played in the Negro American Leagues.
Yes.
Ellie roomed with the Kansas City Monarchs for 1 year with the great Ernie Banks and so forth. So, I mean, they were good teams. And the way this season went, so much of the focus was and should have been on Whitey, of course, breaking the record in the series, but also Mickey and Roger in that home run chase. But people forget, I talked to Hector Lopez. I think he's going to be 91 or so. He's down in spring training. I said, they forgot you. I said, in the 61 World Series, a 5-game series against Cincinnati, I said, Hector, you played part-time, and you led the series in RBIs. I think he had 8. I mean, and he was, and of course, John Blanchard, he just went crazy with the bat that year. He was just amazing. But it was one of those times where the good players not just produced not bench players, but knew how to play the game. They knew how to move runners, knew how to get a good secondary lead. Go to first to third, score from second base, not make many. I had pitchers tell me later on that said, the best thing about your team was the infield could hit a ball through that infield. And we're talking about Roger and Mickey, both of whom could run and both hit home runs and both knew how to play the game. Tough sliding in the second base. So, yeah, that was one of those years. And I was fortunate to, 9 years old, I spent part of 1 year in the military when I got recalled. But I was I would have been in 7, but I missed the 64 series because I had a fractured bone in my wrist. But yeah, those, you hate to talk about the olden days. And when you say, Robbie, that, you can say it's the best team ever. I never could say that. I mean, there have been so many great teams down through the era. Players way back, Ruth and Gehrig, they'd have been just as good in this era. The players, this would, if you throw them back, they'd be just as good.
Well, and you can talk about the late 90s. Of course, the Yankees had a pretty good run, too. So, and into the 2000s. But
Tony, could you tell us a little bit about the greatness of Curt Gowdy?
Well, he was a true professional. He took me along under his coattails, and we had some things in common. I mean, he's a great fisherman. I love to fly fish and stuff and like that. But he taught me a lot. He was actually the second broadcaster I worked with at NBC. Jim Simpson, he really brought a lot of guys in football and baseball along with different sports. And then he went over to ESPN when Chet Simmons started that for Getty Oil. But it was a thrill to be part of that. And Curt and I were dear friends. One of the things he taught me was, he said, "Kid, as soon as you get into the town you're going into, read the newspapers. Something may come up through the course of a game where you may have to respond to it, and it may not just be baseball. It may be something that tragic happened. Stuff. So he was, Kurt you didn't realize it, but Kurt had such a great voice. He did so many different sports, but he also, in my mind, was an intellectual. He read stuff profusely. He was reading all the time on the plane, not just about baseball, world affairs, and everything else. And he had a lot of friends in the political arena, including Tip O'Neill was one of his best buddies.
Wow.
Wow.
Did you try to pattern your style as an announcer after Gowdy? Because that's what I saw more of him than the other guys that you worked with.
No, I really didn't, Ray. I was untried. I mean, when the Mayo Clinic said I had a quitter, I could get hurt severely with my neck injury and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Phil Linz, the late Phil Linz, in his bar that he had downtown, Mr. Laughs, with another guy and stuff. I went to say goodbye, and a couple of guys were down there. And a fellow walked up to me who happened to be the son of the former president of the NBA. And he was working for him. He said, NBC's looking for somebody. And Chet Simmons called me within 3 days and said, would you like to try it? And I said, well, I don't have any experience. He said, here's what you do. He said, you try it for 6 weeks. If you like it and we like you, we'll give you a contract. Well, that turned out to be 24 years with NBC. And,
wow.
And then with the Blue Jays for a while, and then back with Madison Square Garden with the Yankees. So, yeah, again, it was a little bit plus, I love being around ball players. My dad played, I maybe, if you don't mind digressing a little bit.
Let's hear it.
In the late 20s and early 30s, Triple-A ball for the old Milwaukee Brewers. They had an agreement with the old St. Louis Browns. My dad had 51 year, but my mother's parents died young. One day after a day game, they weren't married. He went back to her house in the south side of Milwaukee. And my mother, her parents had died. She was the oldest of 7 kids. And they each had a bag with 2 people, and they were going to take them to the orphanage. And I said, get them out of here. And he went to his blind mother, who was also Polish, and she said, you kids going to get married? He said, yeah. They got married. And
wow.
He played AAA ball, and then he had a contract to go to spring training with the Browns, but he couldn't take it because he couldn't make enough money. But here's an interesting story you guys will like. My mother was born in Poland, and obviously her father came over first.
He broke up one more time. Keep going.
Yeah.
It worked. It came back last time.
And we all have our fingers crossed over here.
Yeah.
She started keeping a scrapbook for my dad when he played for the old Milwaukee Brewers, and she swears that's how she learned to speak English. So I've got 5 scrapbooks from my dad's professional career and stuff, and one is a really interesting story. There was an off day for the Yankees. This is a team that had Ruth and Gehrig, 8 future Hall of Famers, including the manager.
Wow.
After a day game in Yankee Stadium, they hopped on a train. They took the train, went through Chicago, came and played the Milwaukee Brewers in 1931, an exhibition game. They put Lou Gehrig in the outfield, so a little old Borchard Field, which has been torn down. They put Ruth at first base so he could be closer to the fans. So my dad tells us, my mother's got pictures of it in the Milwaukee Journal and stuff. So in the 9th inning, Ruth's in first base. He's talking to the fans. Guy hits a ground ball. He lets it go through his legs. He runs off the field, doffs his cap and said, folks, we got a game tomorrow in Chicago against the White Sox. He said, the train's not going to wait. See you again. They zipped off. But think of somebody doing that these days.
Amazing.
I mean, we're talking about Lefty Gomez and all the rest, and they've stopped and played an exhibition game to help a minor league team out. And my dad was on that Brewers team, as a matter of fact. So.
Well, one thing, Tony, if I may. Tony, sure. Of course, I'm wearing this uniform. This is Maury Will's jersey, actually, of course. But I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to ask you about my favorite player of all time, Sandy Koufax, 1963 against the Yankees. I've known so few people who have batted against Koufax. Can you just share anything about batting against Koufax?
You know, it's funny because I was piddling around. I was going to write a novel, stuff. So I started, and I said to some guy, I met a guy who was a writer, and I wasn't a writer, but I thought I had an interesting story. I said, this writing is awful. This is the toughest thing I've ever did. And I said, no. Batting against Koufax was the toughest thing I ever did. I mean, he got like the first 3 hitters, I think each of us 3 times. I mean, how many did he strike out, you know? But there's a classic picture, which I just saw the other day again. Mickey hit a home run off Sandy, obviously.
Right.
And
Uh-huh.
and Mickey's got his head down, going around third base, and Sandy looking at him like this, like with a scowl, but very grateful that, you know, it was Mickey that hit the home run, the only run we got off him in that series. But I mean, he just had great control, which was surprising us all. Had a great curveball, and of course Roger was batting third and Mickey was batting fourth, which was a big move that Ralph Houck made. I mean, you take your best hitter, which would have been Mickey, but he wanted to protect Roger, so he batted Mickey fourth. So Mickey, I think it was the third time he came up, and Sandy's just blowing us away. So Mickey gets out of the on-deck circle, and he drops his bat, and he starts going up to home plate without a bat. And Koufax looked at him kind of strange, and a big smile broke out on Sandy's face, you know, and Mickey kind of nodded, and Sandy nodded. Well, he got his bat and stuff like that, and he did do well with that one home run. But Sandy was awesome, and they had a good team. I mean, heck, you know, you look at Drysdale and Johnny Padres. I mean, he just the way Whitey would have pitched in Yankee Stadium with that long center field 460 and right and left center field.
Yeah.
Ball to center field and let it fly. My guys would catch it. But yeah, that was a great series. And in fact, I'm in touch more often than not with admire Drysdale, you know, because I met years ago with Don, and they had 3 children and stuff. So she's still working doing basketball and stuff. So, and I didn't know this, but I'm from Milwaukee, and in the offseason I used to work out in the Marquette University gym.
Huh?
She told me that her older brother, played for Marquette, but it was before I got to work out in that gym when Monk Wire was there and everybody else. So, yeah. But anyway,
Tony, do you miss not being in the booth? I mean, because you sound so elegant and I mean, it's so crisp, so wonderful. Do you miss it?
I really don't, and you know, I don't watch much baseball. In fact, hardly at all. It's like I was Rona Baird. I could get in the clubhouse and guys would tell me something. I said, "Don't tell me that." I might blurt it out on the air. So it's almost like if I can't be there, either playing it or doing the game, I spend time with my grandkids and a lot of other things.
Right. And before we bring our next guest in, you had an opportunity to work with Joe Gaggiola. Talk about that, because you brought a lot of baseball fans, or made them baseball fans in the 70s. Hank Aaron's home run, the Red Sox World Series. You brought a lot of great people together, and for the first time.
We will never forget how you guys went at the Reggie Billy brawl in Boston.
Well, that's a different story, but it was funny because I had a microphone that I could shut off and talk to the truck. So when this happened, I think WPIX was doing that game too, and we had a center field camera. All the cameras you're familiar with, not as many as they have now, and we had a camera that was right alongside the dugout up in Fenway in the third base side. Well, when Reggie didn't run the ball out, and I said, and next thing I see Billy. I said, don't go to commercial. Don't go to commercial. Mike Wiseman was producer at the time, and he didn't say why. I guess he just trusted. Well, I look at him, see Billy is talking to Blair. Paul picks up the glove. He's starting to trot. He didn't go straight out to right field, right directly to. He was kind of going back and forth. I don't think he really wanted to do that. Reggie maybe thought he was going to replace him in right field. Well, in comes Reggie. He's storming. Well, Ellie Howard got involved in it. Yogi got involved in it. And one of our, they threw a camera over the towel over the WPIX camera, but our center field camera zoomed right into the whole thing.
Well, do you know the rest of the story, Tony? Check this out. Tell him.
Do you have that picture?
I don't know if you have the picture, but Ray's the guy that put the towel over the camera.
Ray, you should have put it over your head. Did you really read that? Were you the fat boy then?
Yeah, I'm sorry that we don't have the picture. I told Steve about the picture this morning, and we don't have it up. I wanted to show you that.
Well, Yogi grabbed Billy in a vice, and Ellie Howard was a little strong, to say the least. I mean, he grabbed Reggie, just pinned him. There would have been a fist fight, no doubt about it. Yeah. I think, didn't they use it? Cosell or somebody used that? That was the same time when that guy was killing people in New York and the Bronx is burning. The story came out. And they used that piece. Yeah. I had somebody call me and said, "You were there," and so I told him the story. I said, "You want to come in and be an advisor?" I said, "I'm not leaving anywhere to go be an advisor for anything. I'm staying home with my grandkids." But that's interesting, Ray. The one thing I want to ask you though, you've got Cuban and Puerto Rican, ancestry. Why did you spell R-A-Y instead of R-E-Y like the king? King Ray.
You know, it's spelled
Ray is
depending. Hey, if I'm with the white boys, it's R-A-Y, and if I'm with the Latino boys, it's R-E-Y.
That's you're the king, man. El Rey.
Well, Robbie, we have a great musical guest who happens to be a great Boston Red Sox fan too. Why don't you introduce him?
Yeah. Well, our next guest, and Tony, can you stay on with us a little bit?
Oh, sure.
Now, this next guest is a great drummer. He was our drummer with Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons for over 13 years. He's played with Maynard Ferguson. He's played with Edgar Winter. He's played with the Beach Boys, and he's played with Steve March Torme, who was going to be on tonight but couldn't because of schedule conflict. He and I are great friends. We played on 1,000 projects together. He is a great drummer. He doesn't know much about baseball. That's the reality. He's a Red Sox fan. But let's bring him on, Mr. Craig Pilo.
Yes, Craig.
He looks Dean Krupa-esque.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Hey. Looks like you're ready to go to a ball game.
I am. I'm at the Angels Red Sox game here just outside the stadium, and I'm looking forward to it.
That Red Sox park made put more of our guys in the slump. Casey used to get so mad when he had McDougal and Bauer and some of the right, and he said, all you guys do 3 days before we get to Boston, you're all trying to pull the ball because you're looking at that fence in Fenway, you know. but there's one story when my first year, as a matter of fact, when Billy was with the club, we would take the train up to Boston, okay, and some of the guys that came from New Jersey, they would pick up the train. I'd pick it up downtown in the station, and other guys that live downtown or in the Bronx, and they in 125th Street. Well, there was somebody sent a note that they sent to the FBI that they were going to shoot Mickey in center field from one of the big buildings. So at 125th Street, Mickey got off the train. Billy was still on the train. This is 57, obviously. First trip in Boston that year. And Billy said, I'll take care of this. He wore Mickey's number 7. He put hat on. He put pillows in here in his stomach like this. He stood out in center field he was going to take one I'll take one for you, Mick. Don't worry about it. He was out there shagging balls in infield practice. And, but you missed that. Yeah.
So Craig, you're from. Oh, there we go. There's the picture.
Oh,
there's the
man.
picture, Tony. And there's Ray.
Is that you?
Yeah.
You had a beard? Is that a beard or is that a shadow?
No, that's a shadow. I had a mustache though.
Oh man, you had a stash.
Yeah.
Huh? Well, you covered the wrong camera, I guess.
Well, you commented on that, didn't you, Tony, when it was happening?
I think it did, yeah. I mean, it was right there. I mean, it's on the monitor and everything. You could see it live from the broadcasting booth in Fenway. We were on the overhang there and stuff. There it is. It was out in the open.
We got to thank producer Carmine for pulling that picture up and supporting that story. But, Craig, talk about playing with Frankie Valli as a drummer.
Yeah, great.
Well, I don't know where I start, but first of all, it's a pleasure to be on the show with you, Tony. I think the rest of these guys are a little suspect, but thanks for
believe me, I fit right in. Frankie Valli's my era. He goes back a ways.
He does, and he's a big Yankees fan too. I had to tolerate that for 13 years as well.
Oh, my goodness. Is he really? Yeah, he's a great talent, and you must be too, or he wouldn't have hired you.
That's right. No, Craig is a great drummer, no question about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm a great jazz guy. I remember Buddy Richard, he'd be on the Carson show. I saw a dear friend of mine who was head of the jazz department here in Lawrence University. He wrote a baseball piece, as a matter of fact, and it was the first year I retired. And he was then teaching at Rochester in Minnesota, at school up there. And so I narrated. It's called A Place Where It'll Always Be Spring. And the narration with Giamatti and just really great writers and stuff. The Rochester Symphony Orchestra was on the stage, 1,500 people.
Oh, yeah.
I almost crap my pants, to be honest with you. But
Craig Pilo was the jazz. He was in 2007 with his jazz CD in LA. He won LA Jazz Artist of the Year.
Really?
This young man right here.
Congratulations. That's terrific.
Yeah, I just put together some great players and we played. You know, it was I got a lot more of the credit for that than I deserved because I was part of a cast. But yes, my name was on the cover, so it worked out pretty good for me. But as anybody who plays in a band or on a baseball team knows, that it's a team effort, which is what that was.
Yeah, but with Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons, Frankie is like the owner. Robbie Robinson is like the GM, and you were like the guy that just kept everything together. I mean, how did that work?
Well, it did. It was.
They forget the rhythm section who makes the whole thing work. The drummers and the bass players and stuff. They make the whole thing work, and that's so important. It's like watching Take Five. Johnny
Tony,
Desmond.
I'm impressed with your musical knowledge. You know what? You should. I want to say, since we just lost Craig, he was probably watching Ohtani hit home runs. I don't know, but we just lost Craig, and Frankie Valli last Friday just released. I'm one of the producers on it. A new jazz album.
Really?
His first jazz album ever in his 71 years of recording music. And you've got to check it out. It's with the great Hammond organ player Joey DeFrancesco playing on it.
Yeah.
And it's Frankie doing all jazz songs.
Is it like standards?
Yeah, there it is. It's called A Touch of Jazz, and it's all standards.
He's got enough talent that his name could be Valiski, Polish like I am, not Italian.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's Italian, just like Pilo. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Frankie always loved the jazz thing. He was always singing jazz, and he loves it.
Well, that there's a great connection with jazz and baseball. During those roaring 20s on Rush Street in Chicago, great town, Kansas City, even a minor league, great jazz town. New York, of course, where when you look at Satchmo, where he came from New Orleans and then went through Kansas City, ended up in New York. And I had been more than one time right across the bridge in Yankee Stadium after a day game or night game. We get to the Apollo Theater and some of the others, see some jazz.
Wow.
So, but those days are gone. We still, now I've got a grandson who's in Nashville. He's got a guitar like 9 million other people have guitars in Nashville. I'm sure. He loves music.
So he's in the music business in Nashville?
He's struggling, but he loves music.
I'll have to connect with you. I live part-time in Nashville.
Oh, do you? Okay.
And of course, Nashville is a great, we've got LA, New York, and Nashville as the three music centers in our country, pretty much.
Well, it'll be interesting. The fellow who is going to be back if they get a major league team in Nashville, got such a musical background, natural background. If they get they're already talking about a stadium. So I told my grandson, Tony the Fourth. I didn't name him either, but he's. I said, get down there. I said, maybe if they're going to be hiring somebody, get on the ground floor, and you may be able to get on something in Nashville. Not that he's going to play ball, but there's going to be a lot of other events on it. He loves it. He loves it. Never been there. I've driven around it, through it, but never stayed much.
Well, it's so important, like in anything, to be where the action is and to be networking with. Well, I know what Craig Pilo went to school in Texas, right?
Yes.
University.
East Texas State.
No, North Texas State.
Isn't East Texas State a great jazz school also?
No, North Texas.
I think it's North Texas, but maybe there's a lot of schools in Texas. So.
I've got a friend up here who is a professor at Lawrence and has traveled all over the world. His name is Bill Carruthers. He's a dynamic piano player, and he lives just up the road here. He finally got tired of the New York circuit, and he had got a family and stuff. And I communicated with him a little bit. He lives in a little town that nobody ever heard of, but terrific jazz piano player.
So Craig, musicians, everything's opening up after the pandemic now. What's in store for you? What do you have going on in 2021 now?
I'm mostly recording a lot, and I'm just starting to work around Los Angeles a little bit more. Actually, playing a few things here and there, but mostly for me, I'm recording and producing music for TV and film. I do a lot of background music for like reality television shows and stuff like that, and I have a recording studio in my house, so I'm also recording like live drums for people and that kind of thing. So definitely busy, but looking forward to playing out a lot more as things open up. Yeah.
Would you have given a job to the late Phil Linz with his harmonica?
Would I give a job to what now?
The late Phil Linz, if he auditioned with his harmonica for you?
Yeah, it sounds like it would be a great collaborative effort.
Yeah, Bobby Richardson and I, we were in Chicago. And we ate breakfast early. Here comes Phil, and I don't know, Pepitone. He said, what do you? We said, we got harmonicas. They went down and bought a harmonica, and Phil played it on the bus after we lost a couple games.
Oh boy!
He didn't care for it. Cressetti didn't care for it.
Yeah.
Mickey and Whitey made it a joke, and everybody laughed.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I saw
Is
you
it
guys
true?
just-
Is it? I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say, is it true that Mickey told Phil to play it louder?
Well, I was sitting like across from Pepe, and Phil was on the aisle, and Whitey and Mickey were there, and he tooted a couple times, and Crissetti was sent back by Yogi, and Crissetti said, "Shut up and take that thing." Well, he said, "Do it again," and so he did it again. And then Yogi came up and slapped the harmonica out of Phil's hand, and it hit Pepitone right on the shin. Well, Pepe made it. It was talking about an Oscar-winning performance. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Well, by this time, Yogi and Crow were going upset. So now it kind of quieted down. We're stuck in the traffic after a doubleheader in Chicago. It's hotter than heck. And Mickey said, "Well, that's it for Yogi. Whitey, you're my third base coach. Phil, give me 2 toots. 2 toots. That'll be our hit and run, Whitey. That's the take shot." Well, everybody's laughing by this time, you know. And Phil made a bunch of money on that. I used to talk to him a lot, and then he had some memory loss the last couple of years. But I mean, he had a couple home runs in that series against the Cardinals in '64. But he got stuck in the organization, you know, behind so many players. Anyway, I didn't mean to go on too long. Sorry.
No, gentlemen, thank you so very much. Tony Kubak, the great Tony Kubak, Craig Pilo. This has been an amazing time. Thank you. God bless you guys. Enjoy the
Billy
baseball
Jr.
game tonight.
Billy Jr.
And
who's
Billy
still-
Jr.
Billy's
yes.
been watching the whole show. Just a quick hello from Billy. Please try it. See if we can get Billy. Billy. Yeah. I'm gonna say hello to Billy Martin Jr. Billy, say hello to Tony.
Hey, Billy, I haven't seen you for ages. You look great. I'll tell you one thing, Billy. Your dad would never have worn that jacket you had on. Good seeing you. You look great, kiddo. You look great.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so very much. This has been a great show. God bless you, Tony Kubak,
thank you,
Billy
Tony.
Martin, Craig
I love
Pilo,
you,
Robbie
Craig.
Robinson.
Billy, you're my brother.
Thank you. Have a great night, guys.
See you later, Roberto.
Happy Independence Day.
And see
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Thank you.